The time is now 6 p.m. Our regular City Council meeting for November 1st, 2022 is now in session. First on the agenda is Councilmember Whitaker will lead us with the opening prayer and the pledges of allegiance to the flags of the United States and the state of Texas. Please rise.
Let us pray. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. These are the words that Paul wrote to the Philippians from a prison cell in Rome. I pray these same words tonight that God may grant us peace as we enter the final week before elections in our country. We are blessed to live in a country whose government was designed to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. May we, as elected officials, always remember that this is our responsibility. May we, as citizens, remember we have a role to play in establishing that government. And may we all have a peace, no matter the election results, knowing that the final outcome is already written and that we are in our Maker's hands through it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitaker. I do have a special announcement for those of you, for those of us that are joining us in the YouTube. Due to technical difficulties, the video presentation portion of our meetings is not available for viewing. So we have a couple of presentations, a couple of proclamations. If I can have the municipal court staff, please come and join me up here. The City of Schertz Proclamation, Municipal Court Week, November 7th through the 11th, 2022. Whereas municipal courts play a significant role in preserving public safety and promoting quality of life in Texas. Whereas more people come in contact with municipal courts than in any other Texas court combined, and the public impression of the Texas judicial system is largely dependent upon the public's experience in municipal court. Whereas the City of Schertz Municipal Court has a clerk court administrator with 20 years, a senior clerk, 18 years experience, a deputy clerk with 16 years experience, and another deputy clerk with 5 years experience for a combined total of 59 years of exceptional municipal court experience and knowledge. Whereas state law authorizes the municipality to either appoint or elect a municipal judge for a term of office, the City of Schertz Municipal Court is a state court, and its judges are members of the state judiciary. Whereas the procedures of the City of Schertz Municipal Court operations are set forth in the Texas Code of Criminal Procedures and other laws of the state of Texas. Whereas the City of Schertz is committed to the notion that our legal system is based on the principles that an independent, fair, and competent judicial will interpret and apply laws that govern us, and that judges and the court personnel should comply with the law and act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judiciary. Whereas the City of Schertz City Council recognizes that the Constitution and laws of the state of Texas contain procedural safeguards in criminal cases for all defendants, including indigent defendants, and supports the City of Schertz Municipal Court in complying with such legal requirements. Now therefore, I, Ralph Gutierrez, Mayor of Schertz, do hereby proclaim Municipal Court Week from November 7th through November 11th, 2022, in the city of Schertz, Texas, in recognition of the fair and impartial justice offered to our citizens by the city of Schertz Municipal Court. Thank you all, ladies, so much. Would you like to say a couple words, please?
Thank you, Mayor Conso, for acknowledging us today, and for hopefully you get to join us next week for court. Thank you.
I don't have a ticket. I'm just going there, okay? I'm just going to read the proclamation the second time. Let's take a photo over here. The second proclamation is Accounting Day. If I can have the accounting staff, please come and join me up here. The City of Schertz Proclamation, International Accounting Day, November 10th, 2022. Whereas the history of accounting is established practice that dates back several millennia, whereas records and documents originating from the Mesopotamian region track back as far as 5000 BC revealed that employment of accounting systems, further evidence of prevalence of accounting, would appear from discoveries in ancient Egypt and Babylon. Whereas the City of Schertz Finance Department consists of a finance director of 12 years, an assistant finance director with 3 years experience, a senior accountant 15 years experience, an accountant with 5 years experience, a financial analyst, accounts payable with 22 years, and an administrative assistant of 22 years, for a combined total of 80 years of experience and expert knowledge. Whereas the Finance Department oversees management of the City of Schertz budget for the FY 2022 and 2023 for a total budget of $103,873,315. Whereas the Finance Department upholds a high standard of ethics, professionalism, and knowledge by maintaining and enhancing their skills through continuing professional education. Whereas the Finance Department always practices good financial stewardship and has been awarded the Certificate of Achievements of Excellence in Financing Reporting by the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States and Canada for 36 consecutive years. Now therefore, I, Ralph Gutierrez, Mayor for the City of Schertz, do hereby proclaim November 10th, 2022 as International Accounting Day in the City of Schertz, and ask the citizens to acknowledge and recognize the outstanding financial stewardship and Finance Department provides the city every day. Mr. Walters, mic's yours.
Thank you. I just want to thank all of the departments here in the city. We couldn't do this without them. They do a good job coming to us with questions and helping us. And all of our staff, I hope, is very helpful to everybody. Of course, finance folks are a little shy. They want to be here tonight. But we really look forward to coming in and serving the city every day.
All right, we'll continue with events and announcements of upcoming events. Ms. Gonzalez?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Hang with me because there are a lot of announcements. So first one on here is the early voting continues for the November 8th, 2022 general election through Friday, November 4th. Please check the city's website for locations, dates, and times. On Tuesday, November 8th is Election Day, and again, you can refer to the city's website for location, dates, and times. Thursday, November 10th is the Northeast Partnership monthly meeting at 11:30 at Olympia Hills Golf Course and Conference Center, and you can RSVP to Sheila if you plan to attend. Friday, November 11th is Veterans Day. The city offices will be closed. There will be a Veterans Day celebration, Cibolo, Schertz, and Selma. It will be at 9:00 a.m. at Cibolo City Hall, which is located at 200 South Main Street in Cibolo. Saturday, November 12th, Nature Discovery Series from 10 to 11 in the morning. Discover early Texans when kids knew how to live off the land. And that will be at Crescent Bend Nature Park, 12805 Schaefer Road. Friday, November 18th is the Hal Baldwin Scholarship Golf Tournament at Olympia Hills Golf Course. Registration and check-in begins at 7 with a shotgun start at 9 a.m. And there is more information on our website. Monday, November 21st, we'll be back here in the council chambers to canvass the results for the November 8th election at 6:00 p.m. Page 2. Thursday, November 24th is Thanksgiving. City offices will be closed Thursday, November 24th and Friday, November 25th. Saturday, November 26th is going to be a star party, and that will be at Crescent Bend Nature Park, again at 12805 Schaefer Road, and that will be from 5 to 8 p.m. Thursday, December 1st is going to be Deck the City Hall tree lighting ceremony, 6:00 p.m., and it's going to be located here in the Hal Baldwin Municipal Complex in front of City Hall at Building 1. Saturday, December 3rd, Holidazzle. It will be from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the Hal Baldwin Municipal Complex. Bunch of different events going on that day, and for more information, you go to our website, schertz.com/Holidazzle. And then on Tuesday, December 6th, we will be back here for a regularly scheduled city council meeting at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Certainly a busy schedule coming up. All right, announcements and recognitions by our city manager, Dr. Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple tonight. I wanted to recognize the fire department for a great trunk or treat event they had last night. Clint Williams was the primary force behind that. So sort of getting back to our roots with trunk or treat, and I think it was a big success. So Chief Rogers, thank you to you and your staff for doing a great job with that. Also, I wanted to recognize Patty Casas on our court staff. She's just simply the best court clerk around. She does a fantastic job every day, and you don't get enough recognition. So I just wanted to tell you that we appreciate you and everything that you all do. And Judge Dolnig, thank you for everything you do. You guys run a great court back there. And James, thank you also to you and your staff. You all do a fantastic job as well. We just couldn't get through the budget, the audit, and all the financial things that you do for our staff and our city. Really do appreciate you and Bobette and Donisha and your staff. So thank you all very much. That's all, Mayor.
Okay, announcements and recognitions by the mayor. I have none at this time. Okay, next on the agenda is the hearing the residents. This time is set aside for any person who wishes to address the city council. Each person is limited to 3 minutes, and we ask before addressing the council, for the record, please state your name and address. Mayor Pro Tem, please call our first speaker.
Our first speaker is Maggie Titterington.
Good evening, Council. Maggie Titterington, 1730 Schertz Parkway. Just a few chamber updates and a few thank yous that I would like to extend. Skylight was a big success over the weekend, and yes, we could not float the balloons, but we did inflate them. We had a glow on Friday night. We did some tethered balloon rides Friday night. We had over 22,000 people in attendance, which is our record. We are actually, for next year, we are changing the date of Skylight. It's going to be the last weekend in September, the 29th and 30th. We're hoping that will get the winds to behave, and any fronts that are coming in will stay away until that time. So it might be a little bit warmer, but I think we're going to have a lot more success with the wind. As Sarah mentioned, our Veterans Day ceremony on November 11th, we have been working with the City of Cibolo, our Chamber Military Affairs Committee, and we're very pleased to say that the keynote speaker is going to be Brigadier General Russell Driggers, who's the commander of the 502nd Air Base and, of course, JBSA, and so he's going to be coming out doing about a 10-15-minute keynote. Also, I'm hoping I'm not going to mispronounce these names, but I just wanted to reiterate again, I sent this letter to each council member and city staff. If you have not seen the Kramer House, and I know Councilman Scagliello and Mayor Pro Tem Hayward were there this morning for a ribbon cutting, it is so pretty out front. I mean, I know it's still a work in progress, but when you drive by, it's like, wow. So what I wanted to do was just take one more moment to thank all the individuals, and hopefully they're here or they're listening. It was John Woolston, Joe Villarreal, Bruno Cepeda, Jeremiah Yandel, Chad Lonsberry, Sammy Maeda, Toby Salazar, Doug Ledbetter, Coyle French, Trevor Walker, Buddy Lewis, Michael Hernandez, Kevin Anderson, it was a lot of people, Jared Montney, Larry May, Ian Kind, Diego Isaac, Cole Moody, Nick Cromer, Ray, and I'm sorry, Ray, I'm going to butcher your last name, Tai Kienko, Robert Dobratz, and the support from the office of Lexis Taylor. It was amazing. They were out there every day, and they got the work done. And like I said, there's still a few things left, but it's beautiful, and I just wanted to express my thanks and gratitude. Also, ribbon cutting, please mark your calendars, November 5th. This is next Monday for First United Bank, their grand opening. A lot of city staff was instrumental in helping us get their renovations underway. We had to work with them on the second building. We had some challenges and issues, and as always, Brian James swooped in with his team, and we had a meeting of the minds, and things got moving, and so please be there at 5 p.m. to celebrate their grand reopening. And last but not least, I know it's on the consent agenda tonight. I am so grateful for the city again, Dr. Brown, Brian James, Development Services. I mean, there were so many people, GVC, that worked to get Caldwell Banker and Health Texas to the point where I think we're finally there. They're going to be able to break ground. They've had a lot of challenges, backbone issues with the electrical, but once again, City Schertz came forward, we met, we worked, and a few months later, we're here. Also want to thank Adrian Perez and the EDC Board of Directors because they also are helping us get to the point where we are tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maggie, for those kind words on our staff. All right, we'll move on to consent agenda items are considered self-explanatory, and information packets are provided to council and available for public viewing. These items require no separate discussion unless requested by council. Item number 1, resolution number 22R127, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an agreement with UBEO Services, LLC, for the upgrade of multi-function printers and copiers and other matters in connection therewith. Item number 2, resolution number 22R110, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an economic development performance agreement between the City of Schertz, Texas, the City of Schertz Economic Development Corporation, and the 3009 OAC Investments LLC. Item number 3, resolution number 22R111, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an economic development agreement between the City of Schertz, Texas, the City of Schertz Economic Development Corporation, and the Schertz RE Company, LLC. And item number 4, resolution number 22R104, a resolution by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an economic development performance agreement between the City of Schertz, Texas, the City of Schertz Economic Development Corporation, and the Schertz Medical Building, LLC. Council, do any of these need to be removed for separate action? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 4?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, second by Councilmember Brown. Any discussion? Any comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. We'll move on to discussion items. Item number 5, ordinance number 22T43, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Schertz, Texas, authorizing an adjustment to the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget to fund audiovisual improvements for the municipal court, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date. This is our first reading. Mr. Walters, floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Walters. I'm the Finance Director for the City of Schertz. The item we have before you is basically to fund some additional improvements to the AV system here in the council chamber so we can better hold court here. With the new personnel being hired on for this budget year, the plan is to renovate the old courtroom, turn it into cubicles or offices for some new employees, and then for a little bit extra on the already planned AV replacement for this facility, we can make it a little bit more court ready. And so once that's done, court will be held in this chamber, and these improvements will help with that. This is coming from the court adjustments piece, is coming from the Court Technology Fund. It's a restricted fund that can only be used to provide court technology upgrades. And we have about $507,000 sitting in that fund. So this is allocating an additional 10.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Council, questions? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 22T43?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Brown, second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objections, motion passes. All right, we'll move on to item number 6, resolution number 22R128. Consideration or action approving a resolution amending the Schertz Main Street Area Preservation Incentive Program. Mr. James, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian James, Assistant City Manager. So at the last council meeting, a citizen spoke who owns a property on Exchange Street that they're fixing up one of our older houses. Very nice, putting a lot of money, elbow grease, and sweat into it. And one of the things that they noted is that they are not within the Main Street grant area. Generally, those properties have to front Main Street from Aviation all the way down to Schertz Parkway. This property is on the north side of Exchange Street. And the question was what could we do to make them eligible for a grant? And just as a reminder for folks, we have 2 grant programs. We have the local flavor grant, which is geared toward commercial properties, which is not what this is. It's residentially zoned. And then we have the historic preservation grant. Now, we've not had a historic preservation grant come through in a few years. Most of the folks on Main Street are using the other one. But the question is could we look at making the landmark properties eligible for that? And just as a reminder, the Historic Preservation Committee has an honorary designation for landmark structures. They've designated about 30 properties in the city limits. About 8 of those are already on Main Street. So really what we're looking about is 20 properties throughout the city. And so what the proposed amendment, the resolution we've added is, based on what we think council wants to do, is to modify that historic preservation grant program to stipulate it has to be in the Main Street area, or it has to have one of the landmark designation properties for it. It would have to meet the other criteria, obviously, to be historic, caught up on taxes, things like that. And again, as a reminder, these recommendations go to the Historic Preservation Committee first, then come on to council, and we made some changes a couple years ago to make sure that on the historic ones for residential structures, we're really dealing with those primary elements of the building, and we're not paying for kind of interior finish renovations, I would say. So it's foundation repair, roof, things like that. And so that's what you have before you, if that's the direction that council wants to go. Certainly staff is supportive of that, given the challenges that folks sort of face with that.
Thank you, Mr. James. Okay, Councilmember Whitaker.
Don't look at me.
I see he turns his back, lets me deal with this one.
Okay, so I feel bad since I am the liaison to the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee, but I'm going to need to ask, because I'm not familiar, what is a landmark property designation? What gets you that? Sure. And you said there's about 30 of them, but
there are about 30 of them in the city. So again, it's a property that's a historic structure, so it's at least 50 years old. It has some significance in our community. Either architecturally it's significant, or some significant event occurred there. Those recommendations the board considers. If they recommend approval of it, then we notify the property owner, even though it's just an honorary designation, so they're aware of it. Assuming that they're okay with it, it comes to council, and ultimately council approves those. That's worthy of that recognition. So you may notice the plaques on the fronts of those properties. That's really what it is. And we have them for a variety of reasons. Either typically most are a combination of it has some architectural significance, indicative of the style from the era in which it was constructed, and then often we know something about the initial owner or occupant or subsequent occupants and their role within our community and the role they played.
Okay, so it's a little bit subjective,
It is.
and it would be based on the Historical Preservation Committee's recommendations. You're saying they would recommend, or do they have to approve it and then it comes to us, or would they? Is it going to come to us, like, what if they turn it down?
If they turn it down, it doesn't make it to you.
Doesn't go anywhere.
Doesn't go anywhere if they don't approve it. Now, if they recommend approval of it, it comes to council, and council has the final say. And so in that point, you have the ability to restrict those. And again, at this point, we've not had a lot of those designations come forward recently, and so part of what staff looked at is, how many properties is it? In theory, how much might that sort of cost to be able to do that? And certainly, I think, as with much of what we do, we would say, if we had a slew of properties come in for this designation, and we think they're going to all start coming in for grants, then we'd probably come back to you and say, hey, we need to revisit this, understand the financial implications. But we didn't want that potential to necessarily stop us from doing something now that we felt made sense and seemed to be in keeping with what council was directing.
I mean, I'm in favor of the expanding the grant to properties outside of Main Street. The committee just agreed to meet more regularly, so I would have said a quarterly meeting probably is going to be difficult for those, if somebody wants to get the grant, to wait a quarter. So they're going to be meeting every month except for, I think, July. Is that not?
No, that's correct. July and November, yes, ma'am, that they're not going to. I will say this, that in the past, and sorry, I start wanting to talk and don't listen, that in the past, we would call special historic meetings.
Okay.
To have them recommend on the grant because of the quarterly. But you're right, going monthly, it'll make it much easier for us.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all my questions. I mean, I think it's good. I do think that we should expand it. I mean, the entire Aviation Heights is essentially historical in nature in some way, shape, or form, and I think a lot of those, there's a lot of potential back there. It would be good to preserve that. So if there's, like you said, if we got a lot of demand, we could maybe shrink the scope of it or maximum. That's all.
Councilmember Brown.
Yeah, just to clarify, these grants are for external, exterior renovations and preservation.
They're generally so. They're for structural, so we're not doing things on the interior to have somebody have a fancy bathroom with a clawfoot tub.
I just want to make that sure. And also, because it's a city historical designation, it doesn't fall under any of the state historical designation criteria, which sometimes that forces the owner to do things that they wouldn't otherwise be financially capable of.
Yeah, so we made very clear this is an honorary acknowledgement of the history as opposed to a historic designation that would fall under
Kind
the
of saying
state.
it out loud.
Councilmember Dalla.
Just real quick, Brian, what's the maximum amount of the grant again?
The maximum amount of the grant is a $20,000, and again, it's a one-for-one match. So if somebody put in $40,000, we would match after the work is done with $20,000.
That's it. Council, any comments? I have a couple comments. You said structure, not landscaping, am I correct?
That's correct. So again, I can read this. I apologize. So for the purpose of making verified, I say that, let me make sure I can find it. For the owners of structures used for residential, we make verified exterior improvements to the roof, foundation, wall repairs, including brick repointing. So those are the three categories. So foundation, which most folks tend to do, roof, and then structural on the walls, including brick repointing. So again, if somebody's just coming in to paint, the woodlap siding, that would not be eligible for the Historic Preservation Residential Grant.
Okay. My other question is the funds, will they be coming out of the Historical Society or?
We have typically paid these
Council.
from general fund. Yeah, historics, you know, they've got about $22,000 now. That's all they've got that they use to put on the car show. They're looking at reprinting some of the books, things like that. So yeah, these were general fund dollars.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Davis.
So when we talk about the exterior envelope, like you said, repointing brick and stuff like that, but even the same grant could be eligible for something like redoing a front porch. And the reason why I said that, because, you know, typically if you're going to renovate a porch now, you might just get regular round columns or square 4x4 columns versus what you would have in a historic structure from the 1950s or 1960s with the cornice work and the, you know, carved columns and stuff like that. Because I remember before we talked about the inappropriateness of matching or funding interior work.
Right.
Renovating a kitchen, running of a bathroom, nobody would understand that, and that really doesn't, typically, bringing a kitchen up to current standards does not preserve the historical nature of it, but it's the exterior envelope in general. So as long as it's proposed to maintain that historic look from the outside.
So I might say, Councilman, if just to avoid and make clear to folks, because part of what we want with this program is people to be real clear. If the thought is now with the program that we want things like that, so for existing exterior features to repair and bring them back and maintain a historic look and feel, you might want to add that with the motion, and we can then add that language, and I think staff can get there to clarify so that things like an old wood front porch that's rotted out, if they're going to replace it in a way with columns that would match generally the historic, that historic committee approves, I would probably make that in the motion that we clarify the language to allow that.
And the reason why I asked that, and the reason why I asked for this to be on the agenda is, you know, this was typically on the main street itself, but we have some historic structures on the other side of 78. We have some up on the Comal County side that I think would be beneficial to the community to preserve going forward versus just having someone tear them down and build fresh or renovate them to the point where it looks like it's a brand-new building anyway.
No, I would agree, and I think, you know, you make the point of the structures on the south side of 78, for example, in the neighborhood there. That's part of the area we just designated as an empowerment zone. So again, as we were asked last time, I think this is a good way to put a toe into here's something we can do with that we understand the cost implications. So again, staff is supportive of it. If council wants to recommend approval of it and you want to make clear that those sort of things, then add that to the recommendation. We'll tweak that language in the program to make clear that those exterior features would qualify.
Councilmember Whitaker.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
I forgot. I feel like I'm in kindergarten. As soon as I raised my hand, I forgot.
I feel like I'm in the principal's office.
Well, I was going to ask, I mean, you can use this in conjunction with the Main Street grant, is that correct? So this would be specifically, oh, I know what my question was going to be. So process would be Historical Preservation Committee gives them the landmark designation. That's it. They're just determining whether or not this building structure meets the criteria. And then the grant approval is from us, or no?
No, not quite. I apologize. I didn't explain it well. So again, the designation, if a new designation would come to the Historic Preservation Committee, they would evaluate it, they would make a recommendation on it. If they make a recommendation on it, then the procedure is that staff notify the property owner to make them aware that they've been nominated for this recognition. Assuming they don't object to it. If they object to it, then the idea is we back off. But if they don't, then it comes to council. If council finds it worthy, then you read a proclamation recognizing this property is what it effectively means. And so that gets you on the list of the landmark properties. And then for the grant, they apply for the grant through staff. That goes to the Historic Preservation Committee. The Historic Preservation Committee looks carefully at what exactly do they want to change, what are the columns going to look like, things like that. They make a recommendation on it, and then it comes to council, and then council has to approve the grant. So you both have the authority over which properties are recognized and which ones are awarded the grant. Yes, ma'am. Okay,
that is better to clarify. And so then the first step in the process, being designated a landmark, historic landmark, is there any cost associated with that? Okay. So
Not for the applicant. And generally, I will say this, most often what happens, at least recently, is the historic committee finds a property they think worthy, and they reach out to the property owner and say, hey, we'd like to pull information together on your property and run it through, is how it happens, as opposed to us being approached by folks.
But if we're opening this grant up to people who have that designation, chances are it will.
Then we could get more people coming in and asking about it and wanting to get it. Yes, ma'am.
So is there since normally it has been the committee that's reached out, is there an application that a property owner can fill out, or it's just a matter of communicating with the historical preservation?
I would have to look. I don't think there's an application. I think it lays out sort of the criteria, but I think it's just a packet of information about the nature of the structure and the history of it. I don't think there's an application, but certainly that's something with this that we could do to make it easier, is get an application that folks could submit for that designation to the Historic Committee. One of their subcommittees could maybe work on that.
That's all I have.
One other question.
Yes, sir.
Let's say they do apply, they get granted. When's the next time they can resubmit another application for another 20,000?
So I don't know that we have a cap on the historic. I don't know that we've given more than one historic preservation grant. Typically what we've got is that 40,000 for the commercial. It's been a while since we've had one of the historic come through, and so I don't know that we have a total cap on that says you can't come back. What it says, though, is, in theory, grants are available with a cap of 20,000 per property. There's no time limit given. And so, again, if council's okay with that, staff would interpret that it's a one-shot deal. You come in on a property, that's it. Don't come back 2 years later. Again, if you want to open it up for more, you certainly could. But again, if that's kind of where council says, hey, let's limit our exposure, at least for now, then we can interpret that way, that means you don't come back ever.
Could we more or less send it to the Schertz Historical Preservation Committee for their procedures and guidelines in that situation, so they can evaluate each applicant?
For the grant?
For the grant, before it hits council, yes.
Yes, sir. So I'm sorry, it probably wasn't clear. So each grant application for the historic grant comes into staff. It then goes before the Historic Preservation Committee, and they evaluate it at the Historic Preservation Committee, and then that comes up with a recommendation to council. Yes, sir.
But my question is, do they have guidelines, written guidelines?
I believe they do, yeah. I think they have the guidelines that are in the program. They have those going forward. But I will say they have a certain amount of leeway. It's a judgment call. Is this moving it forward to preserving the character, or is this, as Councilman Davis alluded to, somebody knocking out a bunch of the original historic features and coming in with some knockoff metal column they bought at Lowe's?
Okay, thank you. Council, any?
No, I just wanted to point out that it's spelled right out here in the Preservation Incentive Program, how the application process works and the approval process.
All right, thank you. All right, council, is there a motion to approve resolution number 22R-128?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and second by Councilmember Brown. Council, any other comments? Yes, Councilmember Whitaker.
Do we want to add the verbiage that Councilman Davis mentioned about, more to it than, like the porch and that kind of thing?
Well, motion has been made, unless,
I can adapt the motion and, amend the.
amend the motion?
My brain. Yes, I'll amend the motion to include, Mr. Davis, please say what you wanted.
That the grants will be limited to exterior structural or aesthetic modifications that are approved and coordinated through the Historical Preservation Committee.
Yes, sir.
Okay, motion's been made and amended by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Brown. Council, any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, before we go to number 7, ordinance number 22S41. Please note, for the record, Councilmember Dalla is stepping down from the dais. Councilmember Dalla is the property owner and has signed an affidavit regarding a conflict of interest regarding this ordinance. Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, ordinance number 22S41. Consideration or action on a request to rezone approximately 15 acres of land from pre-development district, PRE, to planned development district, PDD, located approximately 2,200 feet southeast of the intersection of the Lower Seguin Road and FM 1518, also known as Bexar County Property Identification Numbers 309-997 and 309-999, City of Schertz, Bexar County, Texas, final reading. Council, floor is open for discussion. Yes, Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, let me start off with just saying I'm in favor of workforce housing. I really am. And this development satisfies a significant need we've addressed in our community. So I am in favor of this development. What I objected to was a seeming disregard for the voice of the people. Now, there were a number of residents, a majority in fact, who objected to this development. And granted, I question the validity of nearly all of the objections, but it isn't my job to convince the residents they're wrong. My job is to represent them. Bottom line, perceptions are reality, and it's not my job to create an alternate reality. Now, the message I wanted to convey is developers have an absolute responsibility, in my view, to ensure projects in our city are perceived as being beneficial to our community. The concept is CRS, corporate social responsibility. And in my opinion, that responsibility wasn't met. Now, from a management perspective, you get alignment when the process, the policies, and the people are all engaged. And in this case, in my view, the people, the voice of the people, wasn't part of that alignment. And that was my biggest objection to this. Bottom line, this is a good project. I don't want to see it go away. But I'm hoping my objection to this is given some credence. And in the future, you may be hearing the same song coming from me, because the residents do have a right to be heard. That's all I have, sir.
Council, any other comments? Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 22S41?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Brown and second by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 5 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Okay. We can have Councilmember Dollery join us on the dais. We'll move on to item number 8, resolution number 22R129. Consideration or action approving an amendment to the contract upgrades to the City Council chambers with Blum USA Incorporated. Okay, Mr. James, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I've also got Jack Bluebird with the IT department here with me for technical questions. But James gave you a bit of a heads up on this one. As you know, we're about to undergo in early December the kickoff to the reworking of council chambers, the AV system. And one of the things that we have been kicking around for some time is how do we better and more efficiently use the space that we have so that we're not simply throwing dollars at things. And one of the issues we find is that we have council chambers, very nice room, but it's really used for council meetings, P&Z meetings, a few other boards and commissions. Maybe occasionally once or twice a month we'll hold something here during the course of the day. We also have the courtroom over in Building 1, similar space, not quite as big, and that's used 2, maybe 3 times a month during the day to hold municipal court. If you go in, it's a very similar layout. So the idea was to maximize our use of space, let's convert that to office space that's much needed over there, much more efficient for us, and we'll use this room to hold court. Now what that means, though, is we have to make about $23,000 of additional improvements here to accommodate them. As James indicated, you had the budget adjustment to take a portion of that that's not already been approved in the budget to be approved going forward. But what we need to do is move quickly with the amendment to the contract, the increase of the value. And so what we're asking you to do is approve that tonight. What we'll plan to do, assuming that for some reason the budget on second reading doesn't get approved, is we'll assume we'll fund it out of contingency funds, of which there are ample. But then, and that lets us move forward with it, but if you approve on second reading, then we won't actually pay for it with contingency, we'll pay for it with court funds. So that's the only thing unusual with this. So again, we're asking you to approve this amendment for those additional changes that need to be made to accommodate municipal court in this room.
Okay.
And to be clear, staff is still staying where they are normally. We'll just come over and host court.
Thank you, Mr. James. All right, council, questions? Yes, Councilmember Davis.
For IT, are we getting updated outlets that have the USB ports in them as well, so we can?
Yes, I believe we are, sir. That's correct.
Thank you.
You can charge your phones.
I'm sorry, I couldn't really hear. The fan was blowing. What's the start date on all this?
So we plan to start right after the first meetings in December.
Yes, that's correct. So late December, early January time.
Awesome. The sooner the better. Thank you.
Okay, council, any other comments? So motion to approve resolution number 22R129.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilmember Davis, second by Councilmember Whitaker. Any other comments? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. All right, roll call confirmation. Our interim city secretary, Ms. Edmondson, will provide us a roll call confirmation on agenda items 1 through 8. Ms. Edmondson?
Mayor, I apologize. On the agenda, I did not add that, or I actually took it off, so it's not on the agenda. Do you still want me to do that confirmation now? We do have a roll call confirmation after closed session, which I conclude everything. Does that?
Oh, okay, so we can go ahead and do these first 8, and then we'll come back and do the others.
Okay.
If needed.
I apologize for that. Okay, let me get my paperwork. Okay, consent agenda items 1 through 4. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward made the motion, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 5, ordinance 22T43, first reading. Motion was made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 6, Resolution 22R128. Motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, seconded by Councilmember Brown. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Councilmember Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0. Item number 7, ordinance 22S41, final reading. On this particular one, Councilmember Dalla did leave the dais. On the motion was made by Councilmember Brown, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Council Members Davis, Whitaker, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 5-0. And last item, resolution number 8, item number 8, resolution 22R129. A motion was made by Councilmember Davis, seconded by Councilmember Whitaker. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, Councilmember Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Emerson. We have a couple of closed sessions. Item number 9, the City Council will meet in closed session under Section 551.087 of the Texas Governmental Code, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations, closed meeting. The governmental body is required to conduct an open meeting under item number 1 to discuss or deliberate regarding commercial or financial information that the governmental body has received from a business prospect that the governmental body seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in or near the territory of the governmental body and with which the governmental body is conducting economic development negotiations, or under item number 2, to deliberate an offer of financial or other incentives to a business prospect. This is in reference to Project E-86 and Project E-88. Item number 10, the City Council will convene in closed session in pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Governmental Code to conduct a private consultation with its attorney about pending or contemplating litigation on a settlement offer on one or more of the following matters. And that's court case Green Valley Special Utility District versus the City of Schertz et al., case number 17-CV-00819-LV, U.S. District Court, Western District of Texas, Austin Division. Or court case City of Schertz versus the United States Department of Agriculture et al., case number 19-51056, U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, or court case, the City of Schertz, Texas versus the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality et al., case number 07-20-00167-CV, the Seventh Court of Appeals, Amarillo, Texas, or court case Green Valley Special Utility District versus the Public Utility Commission of Texas and Deanne T. Walker, Arthur C. D'Andrea Jr., Shelley Bolkin, in their official capacity as commissioners of the Special Utility Commission of Texas, and John Paul Urban in his official capacity as the Executive Director of the Public Utility Commission of Texas in the City of Schertz, Texas, cause number D-1-GN-18-000535 in the District Court of Travis County, Texas, the 419th Judicial District. Application of Green Valley Special Utility District for the new TPD-ES permit number WQ0015917-001, Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Item number 11, the City Council will meet in closed session in accordance with Section 551.074 of the Texas Governmental Code, personnel matters, to discuss the direction on the appointment of a new city manager. And item number 12, the City Council will meet in closed session under Section 551.074 of the Texas Governmental Code on personal matters to discuss the vacancy of the city secretary position. The time is now 6:53. We will reconvene after our discussion. All right, the time is 8:38. We reconvene into our regular session after a discussion and deliberation regarding our closed session. Item number 13, basically, item number 13, the discussion regarding E86 and E88. The start time was 7:28, end time was 7:41. No action is required. Item number 14, closed session in reference to item number 10, legal advice regarding court cases where the city of Schertz is a party thereof. The start time was 6:55, end time was, no, I have it here, 7:41. No action is required. Item number 15, a closed session in regards to agenda item number 11, reference our city manager vacancy. The start time was 8:16 and end time was 8:25. Council, is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor. I would like to make a motion to appoint Steve Williams as our new city manager, effective date 1 December.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward and second by Council Member, was that Scagliola? Okay. Council, any discussion? Let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Aye.
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 We have 6 ayes, no objection, motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Williams. Welcome to our team. All right, we'll move on to item number 16, closed session in reference to agenda item number 12, referencing our city secretary vacancy. Start time was 8:28, end time was 8:35. No action is required. Roll call confirmation. Our city secretary, Sheila Edmondson, will provide a roll call confirmation on item number 15. Ms. Edmondson?
Yes, Mayor. Item 15, closed session concerning the city manager position. A motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, seconded by, Mayor Pro Tem Hayward made the motion to, is it hire or appoint Mr. Steve, appoint Mr. Steve Williams as our new city manager with start date of December 1st, 2022. Councilmember Scagliola seconded the motion. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward, council members Davis, Whitaker, Dalla, Scagliola, and Brown all voted yes. Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. Edmondson. All right, we'll move on to requests and announcements. Any further announcements from our city manager, Dr. Brown?
Just wanted to congratulate Steve and welcome you to the city of Schertz, and we'll do our best to onboard you and answer questions and work with you. So look forward to that. Thank you.
Council, any possible updates or information requested from staff? All right, Council, is there any possible items you'd like to place on the future agenda? All right, announcements by council members. Mayor Pro Tem Hayward?
First, I'd like to say welcome to the team. We look forward to serving and working with you. Yes, I had the EDC meeting as the liaison. I attended the Live to Lead Leadership Conference with Jay Johnson with the J2 leadership. It was a great program, a lot of things to take away and bring back to us, so I'll be sharing some of those. And then the ribbon cutting today for the Nolan Agency, which is a healthcare insurance company. That is all.
Councilmember Davis.
Yeah, just congratulations to our inbound city manager. Look forward to working with you. And other than that, nothing. Thank you.
Councilmember Whitaker.
I guess I have to say welcome, but I'm excited to say welcome. It's not obligatory. I did attend Coffee with the Chamber, also the Historical Preservation Committee meeting last Thursday, and excited that they're going to be meeting more frequently now, so I look forward to that. And the First United Bank had a community prayer event, which was really nice. So I kind of got a sneak preview. Maggie Titterington mentioned that they're having their official reopening and ribbon cutting next week, is it, I believe. They have a lot of history in there that they got actually from the Historical Preservation Committee. I don't know if I'm giving away the secrets, but in each of their offices, they have some picture of history in the city, from the city of Schertz, and it was really cool. So if you can't make the ribbon cutting, ask for a tour when you go in there, but they're very community-oriented, just a really neat group of people and organizations. So I enjoyed attending that event and learning more about the bank. That is everything.
All right, Councilmember Dalla.
All right, I guess I'll continue the cheerleading. Welcome to the team, Mr. Williams. Attended a couple meetings last week. First meeting of the Schertz Young Leaders Program. We went through the applicants and we made our selections, and we're going to be starting those events coming up for those young men and women here pretty soon. And then also last week was the CVLGC meeting as well.
Councilmember Scagliola.
Yeah, I went off to the Visitor Center for a chamber ribbon cutting this morning. Should mention that the Kramer House is looking very nice. There's a lot of work that's been put into it recently. Stop domestic violence observance in Cipolo. I attended that last week, and I also voted. And a rose on my nose. That's all I have.
Councilmember Brown.
Nothing this evening.
Okay. The time is now
Mayor?
8:40. Yes.
Before, I forgot one thing. I attended the ag event at the, in Dalford, in elementary school, and I can say that Karen Dollar put me to work with the dogs, and that's a chore, and that was a workout. I realized how I'm not in shape.
Yes,
And welcome,
Councilmember
Mr.
Brown.
Williams. Thank you.
Oh, well, let me tell you, Ms. Dalla had Maverick running around quite a bit, so yeah, it was quite an event. All right, the time is now 8:45. We stand adjourned.
A picture.
Yes.